Linux, one of the reasons that she wouldn't use Linux is because the Skype on Linux, it doesn't, and this is the only thing that was the big difference that she cared about, it doesn't have moving smiley faces. So, that's the reason that she kept booting into Vista, just because it didn't have the moving smiley faces on Skype. So, what the average end user cares about is it's definitely not speed and security and all those things. So.
Yeah, they care that it makes sense to them, and it has this one little thing they care about, and for each and every end user, that one little thing is different.
Right.
And then their official declaration, if it doesn't have that one little thing, is it sucks.
Now, I would like to note that even though we don't recommend using Epiphany now, I would like to see Epiphany fix this because I really like how that browser works and looks. Just in my personal preference, I like it a lot. But yeah.
So you're giving it the Consumer Reports rating of I like it. It looks great. It works beautiful. But because of this unexcusable flaw, I can't recommend it. Rating.
Where do I remember that?
Yeah. Okay.
And you guys seen the bumpers that they're sending out for iPhones? And not that Apple's sending out, but this company made this really, it's a great joke. And it's this bumper, and on it, the place that covers out the antenna, it looks like an end call button.
No, I haven't seen that. That's something to maybe go over another time. Okay, anything else to go over on the browsers, or move on to the other stuff?
I'm fine.
Okay. So since we have time, we got through that a lot quicker this time. I guess we can try and at least initially address that, what browser we're running and which one we recommend for a noob. Personally, I'm running PC Linux OS, as anyone who ever watches my channel knows. Jordan, yours is always switching.
No, actually lately mine hasn't been switching all that much just because I don't really have the time to do it.
Okay.
My desktop that I do all of my video editing on is Ubuntu 10.04. I've been meaning to switch it, but just haven't had a spare couple of hours to do it. The plan was to put Arch Linux or Fedora 13 on it, whichever floats my boat at the moment. I'm running Firefox on that, but I have Chrome and now Opera on it, just for testing and having multiple YouTube sessions open at the same time. I've got 2 YouTube accounts that I'm actually actively using, so it's nice to be able to have those both accessible at the same time. On my laptop, though, where I spend the majority of my time, I run Arch Linux.
There is a cookie trick you can do on that.
I figured there's probably something.
Because I'm logged into 3 Google accounts right now, using them all through Firefox. There is a way to do it. It's just Google makes it exceedingly difficult. The easier way is to do what you do and just have this one's in browser A, this one's in browser B, this one's in browser C.
And where I do web development at work, and I've got 7 browsers on my work PC, I just put one in each of a couple of them and deal with it that way.
Yeah. Why Google made that so hard, I have no idea. The idea that maybe...
Here's the link for it, what it looks like.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
So you recommend... Now, I personally don't recommend Ubuntu for a noob.
I normally do, but actually for new users, I've actually been recommending Linux Mint more, or even PC Linux OS, just because it does so many more things out of the box that Ubuntu doesn't.
Yeah.
It deals with the graphics cards and the wireless cards and a lot of those things that Ubuntu can do, but doesn't do by default.
Yeah.
Even Mint doesn't do them by default.
And that's the thing, and that's part of why I was like, yes, I'm a geek. Yes, I could go in there and fix it all myself. But I've honestly reached the point in my life where I just want it to effing work. It's like I want.
Well, thing is yes, there's a lot of great things PC Linux OS things working out of the box, but Mint is going to have more software that works for it.
Well, it's like
they make software for Linux, they make it for Ubuntu first.
Well, unfortunately, yeah. But I also know the PC Lin team runs around like a frantic idiot with their head cut off to rectify that problem as soon as possible, especially if it's open source. They work very hard to deal with the fact that some people don't like them.
That's actually part of the reason that I use Arch Linux on my laptop, is because when a new piece of software comes out, generally they make a Debian package and they give you the source code. Well,
right.
The guys at Arch, the AUR packagers, the community, they go so far out of their way to get these brand new packages out there and updated and ready so that you can pull it down from the AUR the same day or the next day, usually.
Yep.
So, for example, on Ubuntu, the version of GUVCView, the program I use to capture my webcam, it's a 1.1 point something. It's like a 2-year-old version of it, and there have been so many newer releases since then. Well, Arch has these newer releases. I haven't found another distro that does at this point.
Yeah, that's one thing that I will argue Arch has on. Some of that people like us would care about a lot more than the average end user. It just depends.
That's why I'm not recommending Arch for the normal end user.
Yeah. No, I would never recommend. It's like you use Fedora. I wouldn't recommend Fedora for the average end user either. And for the reasons James is saying, I agree. Mint's a good number 2.
I would say that they're both.
They're pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend either. I'm not going to rate one over the other because there's good stuff about both. So I would say
my honest recommendation is, if you're going to actually sit down and try them both and pick whichever one you like best.
It's entirely free.
Yeah, the only problem with telling somebody to try new distros is one of the prerequisites I have for if you're actually going to try Linux is actually try Linux, which is, install Linux and actually use it for a week to a month. Don't try it for one day and the first time you hit something, oh, this is slightly different, go, okay, it's different, I've given up, it sucks. Because if you've done that, you haven't actually tried it, and it takes about a week to get used to. Yeah, it's one of those. The downside to that, of course, is if you do get used to it and you do start to like it, all of a sudden Windows begins to annoy you.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing, if you're going to try Linux, I mean, somebody probably told you about Linux, and whatever they like, you probably should try, that, because they are going to be your support. Because even with PC Linux OS and even with Linux Mint, they still might ask a few questions. They're a lot easier than other distros, but they might need a little bit of help. So use the one that your guide is going to be most
That is one of the reasons I tend to recommend PC Linux over. I shouldn't do this when it comes to Mint, because I haven't actually ever screwed around in the Mint forms. I know this is a problem in the Ubuntu phones. You'll come in, you're new to Linux, you will ask a very simple, straightforward grandma question, and you'll kind of get your head bit off, and they'll say, well, just go do this highly complex thing, and grandma's going to look at that and go, I'm scared, Linux hurt me. I think one of the prerequisites, especially for a good end-user distro, is no question should be too stupid, and you should have a form behind it that is going to go, okay, here's the terminal way for those of you who are comfortable with this, but here's the GUI way also, even though it is, like Jordan says all the time, the long way around. The GUI really is the most inefficient way to deal with the computer, but it's a way that makes sense to grandma.
I would not argue that that's true for everything. For certain things, I would think that the GUI is more efficient.
Well, I guess it depends how you define efficient. Because if
I'm inside a folder, if I want to move over a bunch of different files from, a bunch of different randomly named files from here to my desktop, control, click, 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 drag over, they're done. I don't have to do, with the GUI, with the CLI, I would have to do a lot of typing to do that. So that is, I think, easier.
No, and I agree with that. And sometimes, even though it's a long way around, I think the GUI is a hell of a lot easier. It's
that's